Pulse podcast. My name is Brenden Nunes. It's been a sec, but we back out here. I'm excited to get this started again and starting off with a new co-host. Got Hunter Patterson,
Yes,
editor for The Athletic, also covers the Sacramento Kings. My guy, what's up, bro? You chilling?
I am, bro. I appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to it. I have been following the pod for a little bit, and now to be able to actually help out, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm hyped about it. You and I obviously hang out a decent bit and kind of got close a little bit covering the team. And was last year one for you?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
moved to Sac September 2022, so coming up on a year and a half out here. It's been solid, bro.
Okay. Okay. And you a Bay Area guy, right? I like always accidentally call you an East Coast dude.
Yeah, bro. I know, but I'm definitely born and raised in the Bay. Um, Went to undergrad at LMU in LA, and then I went to SC for grad school. So very much California. And then you always think about East Coast because
I
first
do.
job out of school, I was like working with the NBA in Jersey. So
Some light. Some light.
a little bit, bro. A little bit.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah, I mean, today we're gonna go through kind of some stuff on Keegan, talk about the 3-point defense. It's been a big point of emphasis for the Kings really all year long, but throughout most of this, specifically post All-Star break. And then we'll get to some other things in here too. I'm gonna try to be a little creative with some of these soundboards and clips and things. So excuse me as the learning process goes on here. But I wanted to start with what you wrote recently, bro. Like you got to sit down with Keegan, which let me tell y'all is very difficult to get one-on-ones for the Sacramento Kings. So
Be a
you,
challenge.
you out here, you out here. But
Appreciate you.
I'm gonna just kind of let you take the lead. It was kind of centered around Keegan's growth this year on both ends of the floor. But what kind of went into all that for you?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out mainly from him like what was a turning point and when he thought he could be a pretty special defender. And it was cool. He definitely mentioned that game on November 1st. It was against the Warriors. Um, those two steals, he said, kind of gave him his confidence, and he said he quote unquote flipped the switch. And since then, bro, he's been extremely locked in. Definitely wanted to ask him what the high school version of himself would think about where he's at now, because it's not really every day you see second year guys doing what he's able to do. Um, and yeah, bro, he cracked a smile here and there, so that was cool getting to talk to him and chop it up. But I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, oh shit. You on a short list of people to make Keegan smile.
I can't even do that. If it was last season, I would have been like, yeah, I'm getting my jokes off or whatever. But he
Yeah, yeah.
seems like he's showing more personality this year.
Yeah, a little bit. And you mentioned those two steals. It's two steals against Steph in that Warriors game that you're talking about. One of the quotes you got from him in here is, "I got an on-ball steal on Curry earlier in the game. Then I got another one." He says that's kind of how my confidence grew, and it's interesting. And you kind of go on to talk about he spent obviously the whole offseason with De'Aaron Fox
Mhm.
and played a lot of ones,
Yeah,
and it's everybody's gonna think of the offense, right? I think that he does kind of try to do some of De'Aaron's moves sometimes
yeah, he
offensively,
tries
that
to put
hard
him.
plant, you know,
Yeah,
and it looks a little awkward because they just way different body types.
right.
But he was talking to you about how like the defense really that made a big difference, right? Working with De'Aaron.
Yeah, he was saying he more or less he being De'Aaron like helped slow the game down defensively for Keegan, and I was thinking he mainly helped Keegan offensively as well. I was definitely one of those people until we had that conversation. And I think just Fox being as fast as he is, a 3-level scorer, someone who obviously can get a bucket whenever he wants, for Keegan to consistently be in those ones and probably not win a ton of them, it really, like he said, slowed the game down for him. And we're seeing it translate this year.
If they played, let's say 50, how many are you giving to
Oh,
Keegan?
man. Key probably got like, I'll say like 12 to 15, something like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Maybe even 20, possibly, but I doubt it.
Yeah, yeah. I bet you De'Aaron wouldn't deny that, but I could see it. I could
Yeah.
see it.
We got to see this offseason. who's winning most of the ones, because that could be a different conversation than last year.
Yeah, for sure. There's like how it's Fox like fastest dude in the league.
Yeah,
Staying in front of that guy, obviously huge in those ones. But like he's been on guards a lot this season. Like you talk
mhm,
about, I mean, Luka's a bigger guard, but you talk about a game against Luka in there. He's guarded Donovan Mitchell this year, Devin
yeah.
Booker, Anthony Edwards. Like, what do you think he's better on guards, or do you think that there's an equal level of both? Because there's still nights you're going to see him go get put out there on like PG, you know?
Yeah. I think his versatility kind of makes it hard to say, because I talked about some of the guards he defended, but in doing the research for that piece, like I'm looking at possessions where he's doing pretty well on Wimby, bigger guys. So I would say guards probably, just because that was what he was used to with Fox. And um, I think he's really good at being able to like change directions. And if somebody's trying to get shifty, go like side to side, you're not going to be able to really get around him too much. So all that to say, probably guards, but he has a versatility to guard guys who are bigger than him too.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. And I think that's so important for like the long term roster construction of this team. Because really, you're talking about the core of Fox, Sabonis, and Keegan, right?
Mhm.
And then it's like, all right, you want to follow the Denver mold, for example, who are going to be your other two like perfect complements?
Right.
And with Keegan being versatile like that, I feel like he gives you so much flexibility of
Hmm.
who that other, the 2, 3, 4. Like Keegan can play any of them, low key,
Yeah.
right? Like, do you think as you're building out a roster, like, because in my mind he could play the 2 or he could play the 4,
Right.
and there ain't that much of a difference in today's NBA.
Yeah.
But you might want more size, like next to him, rather than two small dudes. Since we're also talking about Sabonis there at the 5, like
Yeah.
with that versatility that we're starting to see in your mind, is there like an ideal other guys around that trios, just size and like positionally?
Um, First thought is kind of like, obviously AG. That's like
Right.
you can't really replicate that. He's starring in that role. Um, I know there was talk of like potentially Pascal before he got traded, which would have been cool, but obviously he wasn't super bought in long term. Jeremy Grant, maybe he doesn't really defend too well. Um, Kuz is another person who helps offensively more than he does defensively. So it's like guys with that build, that frame, maybe, but someone more defensive minded than those two.
Yeah, but so like a bigger guy though, like
Yeah,
compared to say you go Caruso and I don't know, Thibault. You know what I mean? Like, I think you could run that
yeah.
lineup, but you probably want more size. But I think that like Keegan's versatility is going to let you definitely play with things
Hmm.
moving forward. And bro, I never thought after last year that he'd come out like this
Yeah,
defensively.
it's crazy. Like, and I'm thinking mainly a big, just because Sabonis isn't really the best rim protector. So somebody who
Yeah.
can kind of aid in that process and make life easier for Domas. Um, but yeah, like after the playoffs last year and the way the season went, obviously keeping in mind this is only his second season, I was not expecting him to be this well rounded, this fast defensively. So it's
Yeah.
been cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. And then you see some of it on the other end. I think a lot of people are like, oh, sure, the defense took a leap. We ain't seen the offensive leap, but you did a good job pointing out like he's dunking the ball more. He's
Yep.
taking more mid ranges, and he's just, I think, doing it a little bit more by himself. And there is progress there. Um, but what do you feel like has kind of been the biggest growth offensively for him this year?
I think for him to just be more comfortable taking the ball off the bounce, whether it's like getting the board, bringing it up in transition, and sometimes he will look dudes off, which I kind of like. And Mike is putting pressure on him to be as aggressive as possible. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's already doubled the mid range total that he had from last season, which was like we're 30, like between 20 to 30 games ahead of schedule for that, considering he played 80 games last year. Um, yeah, We saw what he did to Chet a few months ago. Zach Collins, who seems like he constantly gets dunked on, he was
Facts.
one of Keegan's latest victims. So
I think Zoo just got it. Zubac just got one, I think. I think
he
from
might
him and Domas.
he tried to put KD on a poster.
That's right.
Yeah, when they were in Phoenix. So just the over, and that was one where it didn't really look like he was gonna dunk it, but Keegan was just like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna try it."
Yeah.
So I think him being that aggressive is something that's huge for not only him but the success of the team going forward.
Yeah, for sure. And I like the finishing. I still don't. When you see him driving, I'm like, still a little. Is he about to get
Yeah.
swatted right now? Because last year it was like he's gonna go up. He's probably gonna double clutch, overthink
Mhm.
midair. And this year it's like, all right, there's more, but it's still got to get even further. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
and bro, I remember that game against the Thunder. Chris was sitting next to me, Chris Watkins, and I was like, bro, like there was a play where he took it up and it wasn't as strong as it could have been. So I was like, I wish he would just punch on somebody one time. And then a few plays later, he did what he did to Chet. So
yeah, and Crispy on that one. Crispy
yeah,
joking about how he's the worst finisher in the league. He got that clip of there was a game earlier this year where one of the sideline reporters talked to De'Aaron before the game, and De'Aaron told him that Keegan's the worst finisher I've ever seen. And
that's
they said that on the broadcast, and of course, Chris and all his like meme folder got that saved just for when
yeah.
Keegan gets denied. You know,
Chris, by
um,
the way, he probably is one of the most elite meme ready people that
oh yeah.
I've seen on Twitter. He constantly has some good stuff ready to go.
You know, I actually got one right here that this is definitely him. This is one of my
Oh,
favorite ones that he keeps on go.
That boy Kev going stupid.
yeah, bro. He constantly has stuff ready to go at the right time.
It's so funny that's De'Aaron as Kevin Herter was cooking, but that was like from last year too. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, the other thing there's Keegan's taking a big jump this year, and we are going to talk a little bit about some of these recent games throughout the process, but wanted to go a little more big picture. It's this 3-point defense for me. I think Kings are sitting right now 20th in defensive rating. Last year, I think 25, 26.
Yeah.
Not good. You got to be better there if you want to actually be competitive in the playoffs. Like, only team that I think in recent years that really made a run with a bad defense was probably that year Atlanta went to Eastern Conference Finals. And even you look at Denver, like Denver was a bad defense for a while. They get
Right.
those couple pieces as kind of guys we're talking about, and you just got to get to around average, you know. And post All-Star break, Mike Brown has been saying a lot that if the Kings were even around average in 3-point defense, they, at the time, this was a couple games ago, they would have ranked 8th instead of the 20th or wherever they happen to be at that time. And
Yeah.
right now, opponents shoot the highest 3-point percentage of any team against the Kings than anybody else, 39.6%. Just for reference, some of these other teams, right? Utah's next, and they're 25th in defensive rating. Then you got San Antonio 24th in defensive rating, Atlanta 28th, Brooklyn 19th. But like, you're bad at defending the three. You're probably going to be tough in the modern NBA. And they don't give up that many, though. It's 21st in the league, 33.7 there. It's just kind of the closeouts, it seems to be, that Mike Brown's really keyed in on. What have you thought of like their 3-point defense throughout this year and really these last couple games? Like that Clippers game was maybe one of the better ones with how good the Clippers shoot.
Yeah, it was impressive to see what they did in LA. Obviously without PG, but that was probably the best effort I think I've seen them give on defense as a whole. In a minute, I don't want to say this season. They've had some good ones. They did pretty well against the Grizzlies. I want to say New Year's Eve, but
That's right.
yeah, I think just get in like scattered situations where it's like somebody might drive past the initial defender and you're kind of like in no man's land, and you're like, oh, let me go close out this way, and then you leave somebody else open in the process. So I mean, you can't afford to be where they are in terms of like allowing other teams to shoot that well from the three, especially in the West. You got to play against Steph and the Warriors at some point, possibly if they get to move up in the standings. But And in Minnesota, they're shooting it pretty well. So, I mean, I can't really pinpoint what exactly it is because we're deep into the season and not much has changed in that regard. But I can tell you it does have to change.
It definitely does. And it's Mike keeps talking about closeouts. Mike Brown keeps pointing to closeouts. And I actually got a clip here. This is from mid-December. Actually, I was asking him about closeouts because he had been even talking about it then. But like, say that just to say this has been a conversation. Like, This is the same way they're talking about that. They're talking about pace on the offensive end. Like, sure, that's more emphasized right now, but those were already conversations, But Mike Brown got into the specifics of what they need to do better with their closeouts. And anybody watching on the YouTube side, you get like a whole Mike Brown get a little animated. He might start like boxing out Jason Anderson in the middle of this. You never know what's going to go on. So this is going to run for a minute, but I thought it was really helpful. Mike really went into the details of what they need to do better in their closeouts.
I think your defensive shot profile has been okay. Like, it seems like you guys are not giving up too many corner threes or at the rim looks, but they're still going down at a good rate.
Yeah, and that means that our closeouts have to be better, and we're trying to find the fine line of getting guys off the line and still trying to stay in front. The one thing that we can't do and we have a habit of doing is closing short. Like if you're a hot shooter, especially at our size, if I stop here and let you shoot the ball and then I contest, well, if you're Trey Murphy at 6'10", which there are a lot of guys that are 6'10", he's probably going to shoot through you. It's normal logic. A smaller guy stopping short and trying to contest a great three-point shooter, you got to get to their body. And now when you get to their body, you got to figure out how to get to their body, but not let them blow by you to where now we got to collapse and they can kick again. And if they do kick again, we just got to keep scrambling. Now all bets are off. You got to talk, you got to communicate, you got to fly around, contest, and try to limit them to one shot. And so trying to emphasize that has been something that we've done all year, but we put a little bit more emphasis on it the last couple of days.
So you're not a fan of those flyby, like jumping contests?
No, that's a great point. Now, if the distance is such that I can't get to your body, then jump in the air. Does that make sense? If the distance is such that I can get to your body, there's no reason for me to jump in the air. I just need to get completely to your body to where my chest is basically touching your arm. Not here, because if you go here, what's going to happen? You just go up as a foul. So my chest, but has to be here on the closeout. And we have a habit of going here and then jumping. And if you watch our guys go here and then jump, that's not a great contest versus guys like Steph and Kevin Durant and Book and Austin Reed, great three-point shooters. You can't do that, not at our level. So we have to do a better job of closing to guys' chests while trying not to let them drive by us. And one more time, and like I said, you jump in the air. If I'm so far and I can't get to your chest, now I'm jumping in the air and hopefully landing in front of you and still being able to cut you off.
What player on your team would be a good example of that? I'm just saying, I see Keegan.
Yeah, just watch the game. You trying to get me to call my guys out?
No.
You tell me.
I see Keegan doing it a lot. He's an example to me. That same example, getting his chest up in there and then, moving back.
Now, and I'm not saying Keegan doesn't do it, but there's a different one of the things.
No, I'm saying he does it. He does it.
So I'm going to explain to you. Keegan does a nice job of guarding the ball like that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Davion does a nice job of guarding the ball like that. I'm talking on a closeout. There's a difference between already guarding the ball and putting your chest on him and being in a help position. Now the ball gets kicked or swung, and now I got to go close out to a guy's chest. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying Keegan's not doing it right, but that's what you have to look for is a closeout situation. How do guys close out? Do guys close out here? And versus a hot shooter, if I coach Ben Wallace and he may come looking for me. Ben, I really love you. Please don't come looking for me because you could probably beat me up. But if I'm guarding Ben Wallace and I'm in a help position and Ben Wallace is at the 3-point line, the ball gets swung to him, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to let you shoot it, and then I'm going to contest after you shoot it. Does that make sense? But a guy like Reggie Miller, okay, it's name for the past. Boom, I'm in a help position. I'm getting I got to have body-to-body contact with you when I close out. And, there are different ways you could teach it, technique-wise, and you have to do it what's comfortable. The one thing I don't want to do, if we can help it, is, like I said, there's two things. The first one is if you're Reggie Miller, is stop here, let you shoot it, now I contest. Reggie's making that 9 out of 10 times. Or if you're Reggie Miller, I'm here, and I can get to your body, but I just jump in the air way past you, and I stop, and I see you take a side dribble and shoot it. That's not good neither. So now you have to find a fine line in between. So I got to, back when you're in elementary school, everybody teaches you the chop, 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 chop on the closeout. You can't chop, chop, chop in this league versus hot shooters. You got to run all the way to their chest, get to their chest, and show your hands, get to their body with your chest while showing your hands. And now as they're going up, you may raise up at the same time with them. Does that make sense? Okay.
Bro, Mike is so good.
Gotta
Mike
love
is
it,
so good, bro. He ain't slick though, sneaking in. He's like elite shooters like Steph Curry, KD, Book, Austin Reeves. Like, whoa, bro, one of these ain't like the other, but I feel you. It's all good. It's all good.
Shouts out to Austin, but definitely made me think about that like meme where there's like a bunch of dudes in war, and then the dude in the very end is like
The clown.
The clown, yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But I mean, what stood out to you in kind of what Mike was pointing out on cleaning up those closeouts?
I think the part he mentioned where you're looking to close out and then somebody might drive past you, and then like we were saying, like those scramble situations, those seem to happen more often than they probably should against the Kings. And hopefully, I mean, by now they should have figured it out. You mentioned that was an older clip, but between now and when you really want to kind of make that stretch or that push toward the playoffs, they can figure something out.
Yeah. And yeah, because they haven't yet really. And I think one of the like real tough things, at least, and maybe it's just because I ain't no NBA guy, but in my mind, like closing out fully to somebody going chest to chest like that of a shooter, that's a tough spot to be in. No, like you really are not trying to foul that guy.
Yeah. I mean, and we see how common it is at this point too for like 3-point shooters to get fouled. They've kind of like taken you can't kick your legs out and stuff anymore. But you could be messing around and fouling people trying to do closeouts the way he suggested it there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's just about like, you got to recognize it beforehand. You can't be running as the pass is going. You got to already know that's my rotation. I'm ready to get there, sort of thing. And like you hesitate for half a sec, and that's all it takes in today's NBA. And I know that clip ran for a sec. I think it was pretty good. I do have one other one I want to throw in here too, a more recent one of Mike also getting asked about those closeouts, and he gave a little bit more detail here. So shout out Jason Anderson for the questions here, but I want to throw one more clip in here from Mike.
Have you been able to identify the issue with the 3-point defense?
Yes. Our right now our closeout technique has to be better. Teams aren't feeling us as much as they should, so we have to really concentrate on our closeout defense, and it's relevant or evident because what we call hot guys, they're shooting about 40% against us, and non-hot guys are shooting about 40% against us. And so our closeouts have to be a lot better, and our sense of urgency on our closeouts. And when I say our closeouts, that means the proximity to where we close out and how we contest and the sense of urgency to get there.
Is there a reason? Is it something schematically why those guys are maybe not in position to close out faster and get there sooner, or?
Yeah, it's a combination of both. There's some changes that we're making as a staff to try to help them. But in the same breath, too, like I said, and this is where the sense of urgency comes into play, we have to be ready on the weak side, especially when the drive happens and the kick happens. It can't be, okay, I'm looking at the ball gets kicked, and I was like, oh no, I got to go. Because by then it's too late. You know, if a guy catches and he doesn't feel your presence, he doesn't feel that sense of urgency coming towards him, it's a wrap if that's the case. So it's a combination of both, and I think with us giving guys some better tips technique wise, we should see that change.
Yeah, and that's more recent. That's post All-Star break, kind of talking about how they're also trying to help him out, but really, I mean, this is kind of on the players. And he also mentioned, I don't know if it was in that clip or the previous one, he said like the importance of closing out, getting all the way there, and he says especially at our size. And I swear all the time Mike is like making hints about how either complimenting the other team, like, you know, that's a big team, or you know, little sly stuff like that of like, you know, considering our size. Like, do you pick up on that too? I swear, I feel like he talks about it a lot.
I haven't
Low key.
really peeped, but I'm definitely about to keep an eye out now. Like here and there, I kind of have noticed, but I mean, it is a valid point. I think Domas is maybe like 6'10" on a good day.
Yeah. I think it's like kind of what we were talking about with the Keegan stuff, right? Of who are the other two next to him. And it's like, you probably need another guy Keegan's size, really.
Yeah, HB.
And I guess HB kind of like that, right? But
yeah, he's like 6'7" but you don't really think of HB as like a taller, longer defender.
right.
But yeah, he definitely mentioned too, weak side guys being more aware of the ball and not really like falling asleep so you can be ready to rotate, how you mentioned earlier. So that's something I think they definitely need to improve on as well.
Yeah, definitely. And part of this is keyword is luck, you know, like bad luck. Opponent wide open threes, the worst shot that you could give up in basketball, right? The Kings give up 21st most, 17.6 a game. So that's the 10th least. Like, that's a good number, right? I mean, and you know, you'd have to really dive into like how many of those dudes are good shooters compared to not good shooters to really get down to that. But that's a solid number. But they give up 43% of wide open threes. And it is easily worst in the league. And for reference, like you look at New York is second, they give up 42. They're ninth in defense. Like they're a good defense. There's just an aspect of like, our dude's going to hit their open shots.
Yeah.
And so that there is some bad luck involved here, but I don't think it helps when you let a dude get going early. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of times it's like, okay, he's probably just feeling himself right now because the Kings let him get going a little bit early.
Yeah, bro. And as you mentioned that too, first thing that comes to mind is Devin Vassell.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, he's a pretty good 3-point shooter. He can get a bucket when he wants, but he almost had, I believe his career high is like 36 or something like that. And they're like, I want to say it was like a couple Thursdays ago, whenever they played, they were coming into the game as the worst 3-point shooting team. And for the first quarter, I forgot what they were, but they didn't miss too often. And I mean, it went on throughout the game where Devin clearly was feeling himself early and continued to do that throughout the game and was just knocking shots down.
He was cooking. I do love Vassell.
Yeah, he's a bucket. He has a super high release too, which is funny.
Yeah.
But he was cooking, bro.
Shout out Avery. I'm pretty sure Avery, Old Media Relations, covered him at FSU.
Oh, okay. Shout out Avery.
Vassell. I loved Vassell at the time of the draft too. It was I think he was the same draft as Tyrese, and Vassell was the dude I was like locked in on for the Kings, and then Tyrese fell. Obviously, I think he went one pick after Tyrese, if I'm remembering that right. But yeah, I mean, that definitely does need to get cleaned up, and I think that's probably the biggest thing for the Kings defensively in this final. I think we got 28 games or so remaining, and that, I mean, it falls under everything, like the physicality they talk about, multiple efforts and all this stuff for sure, but specifically cleaning up those closeouts. And I think it is mainly that like awareness, knowing beforehand what your rotation is going to be and kind of being on it. Cause I mean, they're up against it. Again, they don't have the size. They don't have like defenders like that really.
Yeah.
Like what you'd say, is Keegan best defender? Are we going Davion? I know that's your boy.
Yeah, I mean, shouts out Davion always, but based on defensive rating, I think Fox is the best defender.
Yeah.
I don't want to do like air quotes because he has been playing pretty well. Duarte comes off the bench and plays pretty well, but Keegan right now probably is the most versatile guy. And while we are on this topic, I gotta give some love to Chris because obviously he's doing all of this in limited minutes. He's logged a decent amount of DNPs this season. Kind of been in and out of the rotation, but as of late, against the Clippers, when he was a primary defender, opposing players shot 4 of 15, and then last night they were 3 of 11. So that's pretty solid. He does, I think, decent at the point of attack, and yeah, kudos to him for being ready and being able to lock in when you're not consistently in that rotation.
Yeah, for sure. I want to get to De'Aaron here, but I used to play with a segment on here called Post Performer. After every game, we would name one. It's a little much. I don't think we're gonna go every game. I think what we're gonna plan is just every pod. We're gonna shout somebody out.
Yeah.
So your Post Performer was Chris Duarte. I like been playing well recently. I'm gonna go Kevin Huerter. I think Kevin Huerter's been balling recently. The thing I always point out with Kevin is how much he runs, even full court, half court, but specifically half court, because everybody runs in the open court, right? He's going to get his ass to the corner and space the floor, flatten defense out. But half court, that dude is sprinting. Yesterday, him and Duncan Robinson matched up with each other. I'm like, bro, I could never even
track me. Bro.
I couldn't be either one of these dudes. You got me messed up. You think I'm running through all those screens? Kevin's cutting his ass off, probably not even getting the ball.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, you got to go chase Duncan doing the same thing. I think Kevin runs his ass off every possession, and he's shooting the 3 ball well now. He started tough, but you go even back the last 19 games, right? 51% from the field, 43% from 3 on 6.5 a game, right around 14 points. I think that he's looked pretty close to some of the best versions of Kevin Huerter we saw last year, and his spacing is so important. The big growth last year was, or you could really see the difference of having a Kevin, having a Malik, and having Keegan out there, and that spacing that they give Fox and Domas, I think has been really big. So those two dudes have been balling. You think Chris gonna stick around for a little while in this rotation?
You mean
rotation this year?
Rotation? I think he should. Obviously, the shot is a big thing. Can you knock down open threes, contested threes? So if he continue, or if he picks it up a little bit there, I think he could be a solid rotational piece. Shouts out to you on the soundboard though too.
I'm trying, bro. I'm trying. I'm gonna need some feedback and comments of sound levels and stuff. We working through this. We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I err on the side of too quiet than too loud to start. So we gonna find out. I'm playing with it. Appreciate you. But De'Aaron has been playing really well too. And I asked you the kind of who are the best defenders, because I feel like after those 4 we mentioned, bro, take your pick. You know what I mean? Keon's fine. Keon and Kessler are good. They got their offensive limitations that will probably make it tough for them to get out there. And Davion's the same thing. You know what I mean? That backup one, you really could go either way. But I think that De'Aaron Fox, that Clippers game, man, they were showing him so much love post game, talking about how he changed that game defensively, the on ball pressure at point of attack with James Harden. Bro, a pissed off De'Aaron is different. When he got that tee, he got a look in his eye.
Yeah, pissed off De'Aaron might really be the best De'Aaron. And
it might be.
He's he has conversations with the refs throughout the game. And he got to a point where he was skipping. We've talked about that before. He'll knock a shot down and then start skipping around the court, and it's a wrap.
That's how you know, bro.
Yeah. And and even there were a couple possessions down the stretch, I want to say, where he was on Kawhi, and you get Kawhi in the post, good luck, honestly. But De'Aaron kind of held his ground a little bit and played pretty solid defense against him as well. So Yeah, that T had him pissed off, and he was hooping after that.
Yeah, on both ends, really. And I think defensively, him setting the tone is big. Like that point of attack, you're going to be the first dude, and I think it gets infectious. Like Kevin and Malik, I think have their moments recently of like they're playing. I think Malik had 2 blocks yesterday, but I wasn't even that um, charges blocks. You know what I
Right,
mean? But he sat there and he tried to take it. And
Yeah,
last year he had 0 charges, and coach had been on him about it.
I definitely feel that as a hooper myself at the time, like I was not taking anybody's charge. But he tried to stand in there a couple times against Kevin Love last night, and it looked like he was kind of in the restricted area, moving a little bit on the first one. But just his willingness to even try that feels like growth from last season from Malik.
Yeah, and I feel like De'Aaron does really set that tone. And you look back at his last 5 games, Fox, he's cooking, man. Like those 2 pre-All-Star break he has a 40 ball against against Phoenix. He has a 38-8 against Denver. And then post All-Star break, you go 28-9-5 against San Antonio. You go 33-7-6 against the Clippers. Last night, tough game for him, but 27 points, 6 assists, 8 boards, 3 steals in there. It's 7 turnovers, though. That was a season high for him. And that Miami zone was just nasty. Their press, like falling back into the zone. They do that like 2-2-1 press, right?
Yeah.
Fall back into like, I think it's a 3-2, but half of I don't even really know, which is why Spo is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this. I'm a Heat fan at heart, so it was nice to see. But obviously, you want to see the Kings kind of figure things out eventually. But back to De'Aaron though, bro. Like part of what has made this stretch so impressive to me is like Domas is usually the one initiating offense. He's the one getting majority of the assists, and De'Aaron has picked his assists up at this point. Hasn't dropped below 5 during this stretch we're talking about. And then defensively, you talk about him kind of making it infectious for the rest of the guys, and he hasn't had below 2 steals in this stretch. So don't know where he went. I think he said he goes to SoCal somewhere for All-Star break. But wherever he went, bro, it was amazing for him, and he seems to really be locked in now.
Yeah, and he's a dude that gets beat up. Like,
yeah.
I even noticed like he's always like showing refs like marks on his hands and stuff. I'm like, bro, you get marked up hella easy or what? Like,
yeah, I think it's probably people just like digging at the ball or whatever. But
yeah,
he constantly is like, he's holding me. Like last night at some point, I think DeLon was guarding him, and he was like, he's hugging me or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, he's constantly talking to the refs.
Yeah, and he just gets beat up throughout the season. I think it was like his second year. He had this grade 3 ankle sprain, and he came back probably a little sooner than maybe would have been best. And he's just been kind of dealing with ankle stuff since then. I think like joining Under Armour, I think the braces played a part a little bit. Those Curry braces that are crazy. De'Aaron wears the same ones. Those shoes fit that well. But he had the ankle injury earlier this year. He had a shoulder injury earlier this year that definitely had been bothering him, and I still think lingers a little bit. And then now even most recently, he just banged knees in that Miami game. Right. It was either Hawkes or Highsmith, and I like posted the clip. You can't even really tell too much, but he's clearly limping after, and now he's questionable for tomorrow's game in Denver. But it felt like with how much he had slowed down after his ridiculous start to the year, putting up 30 balls left and right. Literally averaging it, that like almost like the dog days were kind of getting to him and he was a little bit beat up. But do you feel like there's been like that energy back from beginning of the year, De'Aaron?
Definitely. And you mentioned it, like he's played through things and I think hasn't been completely forthcoming like
hell no.
As other people have. Yeah, like
bro, yesterday he's walking out the room and James Ham asks him like, your knee good? And he's like, yeah, I just banged ankles or banged knees. And I'm like, bro, even if he wasn't good, he ain't gonna tell us. And I don't expect him to tell us. That's because he's a fighter, you know what I mean? But he ain't gonna tell us.
Yeah, I mean, he's a hooper at heart. That's part of what makes him special. He tries to play through injuries, and at this point, he seems to have found that rhythm. Hopefully, the knee situation isn't really like a lingering type thing. But I mean, bro, he's definitely, aside from the dunks, I kind of do miss like open court dunks and maybe a little windmill here and there.
Yeah.
He's
I know
like,
Malik be on him for that for sure.
gotta be, bro, because he's clearly preserving himself, I think, for like later in the season. But he definitely, Mark Jones is on the broadcast calling him spry, so I'll go with that. He's been looking spry and fresh lately.
Yeah, I like it, spry. Yeah, you can't go wrong with quoting Mark Jones.
Can't,
You
bro.
know, it's always gonna work.
Because we all know what Malik means in Arabic, bro.
Yeah, true, true. A reminder here and there don't hurt. You know, it is always fun turning on a national broadcast where he's like covering some other game, and Mark just be sneaking King stuff in there.
Yeah, bro, I love it.
You got no shame.
I love it. He'll make sure he constantly is putting the Kings on.
Yeah, it's fire. It's cool. Mark is great. Mark pointed out to me yesterday that Spo has never won a Coach of the Year.
Yeah,
Man,
bro.
that's
It's disgusting, honestly.
That is nasty.
Yeah, I don't know what he's done that has pissed the league office off, but like at some point he needs to be acknowledged. He's clearly like, I won't say head and shoulders above everyone, but he's in the elite coaching class.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, top of my mind, like Pop, Ty Lue, you know, it's a short list. It might stop there, you know.
It definitely might. I think Daignault is pretty good, but it's somebody who's like still really young, so we'll see how that goes. But
yeah, Finch is good. Man. There's definitely good guys. Like I think that there's another good tier that Mike Brown probably falls into. You know,
I was about to ask where you were going to put Mike, but
yeah, he'd probably around like Finch and Daignault and those guys. You know,
I can see it.
I think that's fair. But on De'Aaron, like I feel like when he's cooking, as we mentioned, defensively he's setting the tone. Offensively, when he's aggressive, I mean, he can do whatever he wants out there, and that opens up the game for everybody else. But I kind of feel like this team goes as far as De'Aaron takes them. Like, to me, that's maybe one of my bigger X factors of this team is just like what version of De'Aaron Fox is going to show up on any given night. And I was kind of surprised. I kind of looked at some of these games. They've lost every game where Fox has had at least 5 turnovers. It's only 3 of them, including last night against Miami. 2-8 in the games where he has 4+ turnovers. And in games where he has less than 2, they're 10-2. And, you know, the scoring is going to be there, but I think him taking care of the ball is really important for this team. But I think that part of the reason I think he's such the X factor is because the highs, like Domas is consistent, right? You'll have some nights, like even last night against Miami, I'm like, you probably could have taken more than 8 shots and things like that, right? But he's still putting up a triple-double and doing everything out there. You know what you're getting every single night. I think De'Aaron, the lows are lower, but the highs are higher. You know what I mean? There's more variance. And I think when you get best version of De'Aaron Fox is when you get best version of the Kings.
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly saying the lows are lower than anyone else. Not anyone else, but like in this case, it's kind of between him and Domas.
Right.
And the highs are higher than Domas's. So hats off to Domas for being a model of consistency, like you said. And I think Keegan definitely could kind of become more of an X factor depending on where he is offensively. But just De'Aaron being as aggressive as he has been lately, like the attention he draws makes it easier for other guys to score and get going. So I'm with you 100% on him being the biggest X factor and leading this team wherever he decides to lead him.
After Fox and Domas, who do you feel like most comfortable relying on offensively? Like if you go into a game and you're like, all right, we know we're getting Fox and Domas. Who's the next dude that you're like, I feel best about? I know what I'm getting.
Probably Malik.
Yeah.
I want to say Keegan because we're starting to see more of it. Pretty sure he had 28 last night. And when he's that locked in, he looks like he could be possibly the second option on this team. But Malik, there's something about him having like a knack for big moments. He could be quiet the entire game, and then when the game is kind of getting close, they're down the stretch, they need somebody to get a bucket, especially when Fox isn't on the floor. I think Malik he relishes the moment, bro. Like he loves being in those situations. So for those reasons, I'll say I'll go Malik right now with like fringe could be Keegan a little bit.
Yeah. It's definitely those two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after that, it's like you hope you get something from one of Kevin or Harrison, but really I kind of look at it as like, you know what you're getting De'Aaron Domas, hypothetically. I know obviously what we just said about De'Aaron, a little up and down, but those other four dudes, when you're talking Kevin, Harrison, Malik, Keegan, like I need two of them to be on any given night, pretty much. And sometimes that don't happen. Like last night, Malik struggled against Miami, right? He has 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
And Kings are, I looked at this earlier today, 16 games that Malik has scored single digits. What do you think the record is?
14-2.
Well, we talking lower, my guy. When Malik is single digits.
You said single digits, okay.
Yeah.
I'll say 5-9, 4-10, maybe.
Yeah, 6-10.
6-10. Oh, you said 6. Okay, clearly,
yeah, 16. Nah, you good. I just threw that at you. You chilling? 6-10 in the 16 games Malik is under in single digits.
Yeah.
Like, and I to me, because I think with same as you that Malik should be that third guy, and it's tough on nights when he's not, and one of those other ones aren't really rolling. And I want to go into a Q&A session, which was a little earlier today, and going to go through some of those. And I think this first one works a little bit for that. And Ryan from Sacktown, shout out Twitter, asked reason for less offensive sets this season, the lack of high-low action with Domas and starting forwards. They seem to have a nice advantage there some nights, yet the forwards sometimes get less than 6 shots combined in the first half. Kind of similar in my mind with this question from Iowa Kings fan TJ. I'm reading out names just so y'all know. We ain't doing we're doing handles, not names. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get myself in trouble with one of these because there's a the one that came to mind right away. There's a Twitter dude that I was debating if I should say this, but his name is Pat Phoenix.
Okay.
I like how I'm sitting here saying I'm gonna put myself in a tough situation by being able to do this and then just spilling it. You know what I'm saying? But Iowa Kings fan TJ also asked one time against the Suns, Keegan waved off a screen so he could take Nurk off the dribble. He's never done that again. Do you think he has been empowered to be aggressive as we wish, or as we wish he would be, or do you think the vets are keeping him quote unquote in his place? I think that the equal opportunity offense just like has its pros and cons. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That if somebody's rolling, it's not really like, okay, we're going to go keep feeding that hot hand. Right. It's all in the flow of the offense. You know what I mean? And there was like a stretch earlier this year where Harrison's not playing well, but Keegan is. And then you see, Harrison started playing well, but that's meant less shots for Keegan. And I really think that it's like, who is going into that game with a more aggressive mindset? And sure, mismatches too. They're trying to look at mismatches, right? And take advantage of that. But it's all kind of like naturally in the flow. And I almost wonder if they should run some more play calls sometimes. Like I think Chris Biederman yesterday was asking me, like, do you think they run enough pick and roll, just straight up pick and roll for De'Aaron and Domas? Just those two guys? I'm like, probably not, to be honest. Like, I'm not saying all the time, but and it's not that they never do it. They'll empty out a side and they kind of do it smoothly in the flow, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that they could do a little more, straight up, this is a play. We're running this to get a Keegan post up, for example, which Keegan post up's kind of been a meme this year with Coach. Right. But I mean, what have you thought about how that free flowing offense works, and specifically when it comes to maybe a guy's rolling and how that affects that?
Yeah, I think I'm first off with you on the fact that there could be a little, like, I wouldn't be mad at more play calls being ran, but like, for example, Keegan last night had 15 in the first half, finished with 28, but like, I probably would have came out of halftime specifically running sets for him to try to maximize him being as hot as he was. And I mean, we've talked to Coach about it. He's aware that like HB some nights really might not have any plays drawn up for him. So he kind of just has to get in the flow of the offense, which, like you said, comes with pros and cons. But I wouldn't be mad at more high horn sets. It seems like they constantly get something decent out of that, whether it's the roller or whoever pops out for the shot, or De'Aaron kind of getting to the bucket or mid range. So I would want to see more of that. But like you said, there are advantages to just being unpredictable. And the less you are in sets and constantly doing the same plays over and over, it's like probably more difficult for teams to scout you as well. Like they have so many options out of the DHOs. You can do backdoor cuts. You can deny the screen and go the opposite way. You can come off and you have like, I think Malik has probably the best chemistry in pick and roll situations as a ball handler. So there's plenty of options, but I personally would probably like a little bit more sets thrown in.
It's definitely pros and cons because, like you're saying, it makes you super unpredictable. It feels very much like Mike's playing for the postseason here, and that's what that's what Mike Brown does. Like everything, specifically this season, everything is geared towards how can we be better in the playoffs, and I think they want to be unpredictable, like you said. So it definitely, I understand it. And I think it's mainly a positive thing, and Kings offense has been good, but like I wouldn't mind it a little bit more.
Right.
Next one we got here, Distant Meadows. How do you see the Kings ending the season realistically and optimistically? Let's go optimistic first. If we had to do, I took this as regular season standings. Maybe let's do both. Optimistically, where you think they could finish in the regular season and how far could they go?
Optimistically, I would say possibly 5th seed if they close out the way they hope to and want to. And come postseason, my like putting on complete optimism hat here, you get to the second round. That's maybe a little bit pessimistic while I'm trying to be optimistic here, but like a second round series to me is a huge win.
I think so too. I think that definitely 5 seed for optimistic regular season. I think it's the most real, like the best possible outcome right now that's still realistic, right? There's a game. Oh God, this is updating because game's going on. Game and a half now between 5 to 8 with New Orleans, Phoenix, Sac, and Dallas. But Kings are 4.5 behind the Clippers, for example, in 4th. So really we're talking somewhere probably 5 to 8. Or, you know, if you want to go doomsday, you could drop down to 10 where Warriors and Lakers are 2.5 behind the 8 seed. But I think there's a world they get to the Western Conference Finals, bro.
Oh, talk to me. See,
I think there's a world.
Like, I didn't want to say it, but I was like, possibly.
I think there's a world, bro. Like, think about like Atlanta going to Eastern Conference Finals type of thing, or like when Portland did it a couple years ago. Say they're a 5, and I mean, there ain't no great matchup in that first round, right? But let's say Denver, right? Which I actually do not like Denver as a matchup. I know Kings are 3-0, people feeling good.
Yeah,
bro, don't give me the champs. Don't give me the champs. But let's say they get out of the first round, right? And again, I know it's already a big if. Second round, are we like you're probably playing the 1 seed if you're the 4-5. It'd be the 1-8 matchup that you're up against, and they go up against Minnesota, OKC. Like they got a shot. That's what I'm saying. I'm not betting on it, but I think there's a world where things roll right. You could mess around and end up in conference finals.
Yeah, and I don't think they really fear any team in the West, maybe minus the Pelicans, but I don't know. Like they've beaten the Thunder, they've beaten the Wolves. I want to say earlier this season when they were in Minnesota. So I don't think there's really any fear factor with any of these teams that they might play. So I'm looking at the standings, bro, and I'm like, I'm kind of ready to jump on the bandwagon and say super optimistically, possibly conference finals. But for sure, I would say like second round berth,
Yeah.
we get some motion there, and that could be something.
Second round is still a crazy successful season and definitely
No
optimistic. Yeah, I'm definitely going pie in the sky with my Western Conference Finals. You know, I'm saying like we got like a 5% chance we talking about here.
Yeah.
What about realistically? What do you think we're gonna end up talking about?
I could see 6 seed. I would say definitely try to avoid playing at all costs, obviously. But I'm like 6, 7 seed, honestly. Um,
Is there anybody in this like 5 to 8 that you think is like the 5?
um, you're saying like specifically that team or like which 5?
Like just between New Orleans, Phoenix, Sac, Dallas, is
Mhm.
there like a clear best team there to you? When it comes to like where you're gonna finish regular season, because I think Phoenix
Yeah.
is best postseason, right? But
I think there's so much up in the air with the Pelicans as always. Feels like we've been saying this for a couple of years just with health. But if they are completely healthy, I do like them. And you could almost say the same for the Suns, bro. Like Brad Beal has had a tough season. His back, he like I want to say was wearing a mask at one point. Not really sure if he broke his nose, whatever happened, but like they seem to have issues with him being healthy. Nurk is kind of in that same boat. Um, between those two, I would say either the Pelicans or Suns, when healthy, are the best of the bunch for the 5th seed. But yeah, it's hard to say with them constantly being injured.
it's super tough. Like I have no clue on any of this 5 to 8,
Yeah,
and it's gonna be after every end of every night. All right, what's the standings look like
hell
now?
yeah,
And that's a fun time of the year for sure, but it also could be a little stressful for some Kings fans for sure. I think it's already getting to people a little bit.
right.
But I get it. And I think realistically, I like a 6 seed, maybe just because I'm hoping to believe we're not talking about the play in.
Yeah,
And I think they're probably a first round out, more likely than not. Say you're 6 right now, you're going up against Denver, or you're 5, you're going up against the Clippers. Like I'm not favoring the Kings in either one of those matchups. Obviously, I don't think anybody is,
right.
but I'd feel pretty good saying that the Kings are going to lose that, and I think that's okay as long as you're not getting smacked.
Yeah, make it respectable. But I'm realistically there with you too. I didn't even get to the postseason part of it, but I very much am with you. You would want to see him do well and make it out of that first round. Clearly, they were close last year, but um, I don't know. I personally don't see them getting out of that first round this year.
Yeah, and it goes into one of these other questions from threads. Alex Lenburner, we got Alex Len in here.
Shouts out.
Is there a top 4 team in the West the Kings can't beat in round 1? And if not, what's the worry? Like they could, but
Mhm.
I don't feel. And also another question that kind of fits. I don't know. I'm probably gonna end up dropping doing these names eventually. George S. Muller, 22.
No, I'm not
Shouts.
mad at giving them credit.
All right, you're right. You're right. What do you think the Kings? Who do you think the Kings have the best chance against in the playoffs?
Mhm.
Like, I don't. I don't feel particularly better about too many of these. I like OKC and Minnesota, to be honest, because just the lack of postseason experience. But
Right.
Minnesota's size is really tough to deal with. It's
Yeah.
probably OKC that I like the best. And like, sure, the Kings could be any of these teams, but I mean, it's really Denver and the Clippers for me that I think are just two best teams in the West. And then if you get to postseason, like Phoenix, if they're healthy, I don't really want nothing to do with that. But like they could beat these top 4 teams, but just like they could get to the conference finals.
Right. Yeah, bro. I'm like, I would have to agree with the Thunder being the team that probably have the best chance against. Um, I don't want to see defending champs if I'm them. The Clippers seem to be, since December, one of the best teams in the league. They're like finding their rhythm after kind of like working out the kinks. And yeah, man, like the Timberwolves, and it's hard to bet against him at this point. He was kind of dealing with injuries, I think, last season during the postseason, and maybe wasn't at his full potential, but they seem serious this year. And as I'm saying that, like SGA is on the screen kind of going crazy right now. So we'll see how they would do against the Thunder, but that's also a really, really good team. So
Yeah.
and a lot to say, George. Probably OKC.
I'd probably go that too. And selfishly, I would love to watch De'Aaron and SGA go at it, because
Oh man.
I swear that De'Aaron is not far from being SGA's level. I really don't think it's that far. I know SGA more consistent. He's getting them up more. I don't think that they're that far apart. And also, about a little bit on De'Aaron earlier, he said earlier this year he wants to be a dude that averages 2 steals, right? And I think the only guy doing that right now might be SGA.
Believe
De'Aaron's
so.
at 1.9, and SGA's steal numbers are ridiculous. He did earlier in the year, De'Aaron, talk about it was maybe actually the last couple of weeks, that like, well, you know, all my steals are on the ball, unlike some other guys. And I'm like, bro, that's got to be a shot at SGA.
It definitely is,
that's
bro.
got to be a shot.
I
But
love the
yeah,
competitive fire too. Like, two Kentucky guys. Like, I remember last year we were talking to him before a shoot around against the Thunder, kind of just asking about the relationship he has with Shea, and he said that they weren't really that close, but he gave him a lot of credit. Obviously, it's a fellow Wildcat, so that would be a really good matchup. I'd also like to see them against the Sun somehow. Those games this season have been pretty fire.
Yeah, I'd definitely be down. Actually, I guess what about playing? Who scares you most in the playing? Like, let's say right now. No, just who would scare you most in a playing game?
Man, probably the Mavericks.
Really?
Might be, bro. Like,
Okay.
obviously, Bron. Hey, okay, like it's tough, bro, because
Warriors Lakers are kind of like
there. That's
you really want to see Steph or Bron?
Yeah, I said that, and then I'm like looking 2 spots down, like I don't know, bro, because it seems like Steph just loves playing against the Kings. Keegan, we mentioned he found his confidence against them, but the amount of playoff experience that both of these teams have, it would be hard to go against them. And then my first thought saying the Mavs, bro, is just Luka being a dog and kind of doing what he does. Seems like every postseason. In the first round anyway, considering this will be playing.
Yeah.
But bro, I wouldn't want to see any of them if I were the Kings. Like, they at all costs need to avoid playing.
I agree. Playing is scary, bro. Like, Western Conference, I know your Bulls or your Bulls, your Heat just made conference finals off the play-in, but
yeah.
I don't want to take that path. Literally, in a playing game, I will refuse to guess who wins the game. It is one game that is going to be the most chaotic shit.
Crazy.
And like, there's nights we talk about luck with 3-point shooting earlier. Say you just can't shoot one night, or say, you know, you're playing the Warriors and Dario Saric hits 4 threes.
Oh,
you know, I watched Kelly Olynyk cook in a game 7. Cook and send John Wall Bradley Beal home, bro.
Yeah.
Cook. Anything could happen in one game.
I will say, though, if there were a play-in situation at Golden One, only thing I could think about is the Game 7 last year against the Warriors and how crazy that energy was there. If there's like a one-game winner-takes-all situation, Golden One would be nuts, bro.
It'd go wild.
I mean, obviously, Kings fans would want them to win, but just being in that atmosphere would be pretty crazy.
And I think that if Golden State LA stay at that 9-10, that you better win that first playing game. Because, right, so 7-8 matchup, and the winner of that makes it. And then the loser would play the winner of the 9-10.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're 7 or 8, you got to lose 2 games.
Yeah.
Miami lost their first last year, right? And then won the second.
Took it to the Eastern Conference Finals, bro.
So wild,
really,
bro.
really out here.
So wild. So wild. The most Heat culture shit ever, but whatever, bro.
Crazy.
Yeah,
bro. Like,
I'm good on the plane, bro.
same. And at first, too, I remember just giving Adam Silver some love. Like, I was like, bro, why are we messing with the playoffs? Why are we doing this? And clearly, this shit is competitive. It creates just an extra sense of urgency for all these teams down the stretch. So, kudos to Adam for this.
Yeah, it's definitely worked out. Be entertaining, but definitely would be stressful and not a situation that you want to be in.
Yeah.
Next one we got. How do I say this? Ba to the ba. BA to the BA. That's what we're going with. Have you seen any Netflix personnel or film crews following Sabonis around for the upcoming series? I will say, I think they were in Golden State last time we were in Golden State.
Okay.
I think. Domas can't talk about it. He's gotten asked about it, and it's pretty clear he just cannot talk about it. I don't know if that means they're still like going through decision-making process, if he's actually locked into that. I don't think there's ever been confirmation of that necessarily outside of kind of that rumor. I believe it was just a rumor rather than confirmation, but I haven't really seen it. I think in Golden State I saw it, but you haven't noticed anything, have you?
I have seen a couple uninterrupted hats at at Golden One. Don't know if those are people filming for Domas, but I'm pretty sure he definitely has made the cut and will be a part of it.
I could see it. Last night before the game, he had his kids courtside, which doesn't usually happen pregame. And bro, it's crazy. Actually, it feels really weird. You know, some of this media stuff feels really weird and like invasive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he goes and picks up his kid, and he's messing around. He's got the most good-looking kid ever, by the way. Like the blue eyes and everything. I'm like, okay. But he's Domas making an arm with his hoops and his kid shooting through it and things like that. And there are so many cameras that go up on him just as he's just hanging out with his kid. And it's like, I don't know if it made NBA TV last night or what.
Right.
But yeah, who knows?
Bro, and now I'm
people
thinking
everywhere
about like that last game you were talking about in Golden State. I'm pretty sure his wife and De'Aaron's wife, were both in the presser. That didn't happen all of last season.
Right.
It's a regular season game. It went well, obviously, but like you can kind of see some of that stuff building up to maybe be like Sabonis with his new family, his young kids being a part of all of this.
Right.
So I could definitely see something like that lining up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see if Pops makes it out to a game. Might be
bro, Legend Arvidas, if he pulls up, that'd be crazy.
It would go crazy. Yeah, so we'll see. And you also threw in here what are some of those potential storylines. I don't know, but I do know that there's going to be a fire backdrop of a winery. Domas all about his wine in Napa, and that man's gonna have a big glass of wine next to him. He's gonna have a gorgeous winery view behind him, and that's all I'm really looking for.
Yeah, shouts out Sam Amick on that one. The story he put together on Domas, but man, being able to like you get to be part-time in Napa, part-time in LA, that's some nice stuff he got going on there.
It's a solid setup. Other one we got in here, Meg. What's up, Meg from Threads? Any news on Sasha's return date? And kind of, I had been wondering and needing to check up on this anyways. It was the 10th, February 10th, that Sasha sprained his right ankle. It was during a practice. Actually, the couple week or so before that, he also rolled his left ankle, was out for a game or two. He had rolled that same right one earlier. This is a third ankle thing Sasha's dealing with, and this was a grade 3, obviously. But on the 10th, they said 4 to 6 weeks until reevaluation. That don't mean playing. It means reevaluation. It could mean playing, but it could mean not. 4 weeks is on the 9th. So we got about a week and a half. There's 5 games till then. 6-week timeline would be on the 23rd. There's 13 games if you include the day of the 6-week mark, but we only got 27 left in this season. You know,
Right.
like I kind of feel like this, depending on how his recovery is and the fact that he was already on the real fringe of the rotation,
Mhm.
it wouldn't shock me, honestly, if we don't like see him again this year, really.
Same, because it's hard to get somebody integrated back into things when you're comfortable with the rotations you have now. You mentioned he was kind of in and out of the rotation throughout the season, but if you don't get back sooner than later, it might be hard to get him back into the swing of things when it's like money on the line, playoff time.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. She also asked, curious if we think JaVale's out of the rotation, just out of the rotation. The day that I'm forgetting what game this was, there was a game Alex Len was out, and instead of going to JaVale, they just went to Trey.
Mhm.
And Trey Lyles at that backup 5. And I think we've been seeing that a little bit more, but I do feel like we see Trey at that backup 5 when other teams are small, like
Right.
Kevin Love yesterday, or you want to go Daniel Tice with the Clippers. I think like Obi Toppin on Indiana, or like Saric with the Warriors. Like it feels like they kind of match that size, but I think Alex should just be the backup 5 personally. But I don't think that we just never see a JaVale again. I think that coach thinks that there are unique things that he provides. He gets out of screens quick. He's got that lob threat for Malik. He does deter shots around the rim. I think he's just like an intimidating presence, low-key down there with his size, length, and agility. And you never know if he's just going to fall on you because he's just tripping. But I think it should just be Alex. And I'll also throw in, like, at this point, I kind of would just roll with Davion at that backup 1. You know, I think that the backup 1 and 5, there's been a lot of questions of like, okay, Davion or Keon, and then Alex or JaVale, and maybe you throw Trey Lyles in there, or maybe you throw Malik in there at that 1. And it's like, you could play with stuff, but I kind of think at this point, figure out the regulars. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely been on the Alex Len should be backup center kind of vibe for like since last season, honestly.
Yeah.
And you mentioned JaVale offers different things that Alex and Domas don't. I would say definitely the best rim protector on the team. He's hilarious. One, he has like energy that the crowd at Golden One can definitely feed off of. But he's also good for some lapses here and there. So I personally would roll with Alex. And Trey, he's been huge as far as like small ball 5. All the matchups you just mentioned, he's consistent there, and he stretches the floor better, obviously, than Alex and JaVale. Looking up some Davion stats too.
Of course you are.
Can't really, you know me. Bro,
Anybody ain't know. That is Hunter's.
That's my dog.
Hunter's
That's my
dude
dog.
right there. Yeah.
I mess with Davion. He's cool, but he's shooting decently from 3. I'm not. He's by no means like a knockdown kind of guy. But last night he was 2 for 3 from 3. He went 4 for 4 against OKC a while back, but he definitely, we know what he does on ball defensively. He's great at being a disruptor. So yeah, I think to the original question, Meg, JaVale may be out of the lineup for a little bit with situational opportunities for him.
Yeah. And you mentioned JaVale being hella funny yesterday in the locker room. He's kind of messing around with Mason Jones after the game. And they're talking about a bunch of stuff. Mason Jones talking about like why he dyes his hair, and he says it's got to do with like he's super into Man U in soccer, and I think it was like a little soccer influenced. And I forget what else they were talking. They were talking about a bunch of stuff, but like JaVale's on him about like, are you sure you're not Mexican, bro? Like, you be eating chips and salsa on the plane every time we go anywhere. You be loving your Chipotle. JaVale's in there like, I wonder if like, you know, authentic people that eat authentic Mexican food actually mess with Chipotle or not. But JaVale's just messing around like crazy
random,
in the
bro.
locker room, you know? Like, what are you talking about right now, bro? But
He's
everybody cracking up. He's got 3 chips, bro. Just saying.
Yeah. I think he's a solid vet. Just in the fact that like he's able to have those conversations and be a really good locker room guy, knowing that he's probably not in the rotation right now. And it doesn't really bother him because I think he knew what he signed up for when he signed on here. So kudos to him for just being a great vibe guy.
Yeah, facts. Need more of them. Mason Jones too, bro. Getting a T without ever playing is kind of crazy, but it's
hard, bro. I didn't even
That's
know.
hard.
I can't think of anybody else who's been in that situation before, but I mean, he's the most live person on the bench, so you gotta love it.
Yeah, the clip of him doing it is so funny, bro. Bro, like ran like all the way out on the court, then like runs right back to try to not get seen. It's hella funny. Coach loves it though. Coach Brown loves his energy. He said he'll cover the fine for him. He's all about it. He's all about it. So, you got any final stuff here before we go to a little non-basketball overtime?
Nah, bro. We've been chatting. We've been podding for sure.
Got through a good bit. So for anybody unaware, I always like to close with a non-basketball related topic. You know, get to know us a little better and just shoot the shit for a sec. Basketball is over. We headed to overtime.
Hey.
We're going like that.
Soundboard.
Best album that has come out in 2024. And we still real early. And I will say when I pitched this, there were some albums I thought came out this year and I realized came out end of last year.
I have my phone in my hand as we speak, bro. I'm trying to get right.
Same too. It really came down to 2 for me. I feel like you could guess.
Okay. I'm gonna say American Dream is in there for you.
Yep, no? 21.
Okay.
Which I still don't feel like I've listened to enough. Like, there's the Travis song. What is it, Nina or whatever? And there's one other in there. I want to say it's like a Thug feature. But there's really only 2 I've been listening to since I gave that a first listen.
That first, the intro was
that's
probably my favorite song on there, but it's kind of a cheat code because he sampled a really great song. So the second one though, bro, would you saying Vultures?
Okay, I thought about it. Thought about it. And listen, I know Kanye's got his shit. I can't help but listen when it comes out. Do you know the song about the women falling out the sky? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
Okay, I'm gonna have to send it to you after.
Oh no, I do. I definitely do.
The crazy ass lyrics.
When it's like a long word.
Yes, and it's like actually just a movie line. Yeah, I listened to that shit because I thought it was funny at first, and now that be stuck in my head all the time, bro.
I listened to like the back half of that album more.
Yeah.
But that when I first heard it, I was just like, bro, he's in the studio just having fun. Like
he just is doing whatever he wants.
Catching off, bro. But let's see.
I think my other one though, because is probably Insano. It's the Kid Cudi.
Cudi. Okay.
The Cudi one did it for me. There's the song with Travis on there's really good.
Yeah.
What were some of the other ones on here that I liked? There was another one. But I thought that more albums had come out this year and didn't. I mean, obviously, I know we're still hella early in the year, but those were really the 2 for me. I think it's called Funky Wizard Smoke, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, Rager Boys with Thug and Funky Wizard Smoke. Oh, and I got 2 of the Savage ones. I got Nina, and then I got All of Me is the other one on here.
That one is fire. I'm gonna have to default. I wish we had different ones, bro. I didn't want to do like same joints, but
I realized when I looked through the list, I was like, we gonna have the same stuff here, actually.
Yeah, American Dream. I'm not even a huge 21 fan, but just how replayable it was, like solid replay value. I wasn't really expecting that from him, but I've been playing that a lot.
Did you hear
And
the
then a lot of the albums I was thinking about, bro, were like end of 2023. Like
Yeah.
I was thinking about Larger Than Life with Brent.
Okay.
Sampha had a good album at the end of last year, but
I do really like me some Kid Leroy.
okay.
That came out end of last year. I be playing that a lot. I
Yeah.
will say that new Beyonce country song, that be stuck in my head.
Texas Hold'em joint?
Yeah, this ain't Texas, bro.
Yeah. Bro, that's kind of nice. That was solid.
It actually kind of smacks, bro.
It does.
Yeah. And you know who else I've been listening to recently? Is
And
Dave?
hold up. Since we podding, bro, I'm like, the Bay and Me just came out. When in reference to music, I'm always more like slaps and food is like smacks.
That's fair.
You feel me?
Did give me that. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. I usually actually try to be pretty picky with that too, but you caught me slipping. I get you.
Yeah, bro. And that's like the first time I've heard you do that. So I was like, nah, this is like just a mental lapse. I gotta tap in with my guy.
It's definitely a thing. I actually appreciate you because I listened to that too way more than I should. You know, it's like a super OD Bay thing. It's like there's no reason to be so on about this, but we
bro,
all
I
are.
hated to have to do it, honestly.
No, you had to though. I'd be more annoyed if you didn't. So I'm with you. Other dude I've been listening to a little bit recently is this UK dude Dave. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay. I don't think so.
Pretty solid. I'm getting a little ting to me, you know?
Okay.
Trying to culture myself out here, bro.
Nah, I feel you.
So I'm about it.
I'm gonna have to look him up, or you could send me some of his stuff because I'm not.
I got you.
I feel like I'm listening to the same shit, honestly.
Yeah.
It was like the anniversary. I forget how many years of Future's Hendrix project, and I've been listening to that a ton.
Bro, I've been going back to like old like Pac actually.
Okay.
I feel like I haven't done that in forever, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, there's another one that came out actually. Have you heard this? It's All Is Yellow. It's a Lyrical Lemonade album.
You know man, no, I've heard a few songs from that, but I haven't listened like top to bottom.
I forgot about that actually. There's like 2, 3 on there that I like. There's Fly Away, Hello There, Fallout. This one was actually pretty good. There's also a Eminem song in here where he disses Benzino again.
Damn.
And bro, I had never looked into like the history of that whole beef.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you see the Drink Champs thing recently with Benzino?
Yeah, bro. Because I was about to say, like, I saw him talking about Paul Pierce, and I was like, I had no clue Benzino was really moving like that.
Bro, I couldn't even tell you what. Like before this past week, you could have shown me a picture. I would not have known who Benzino is. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, bro. He's like not who I would think of when I'm thinking about like real activities like that, which is hilarious.
Bro, that interview is so funny because some dudes clip it just right. Where at the beginning he's all "fuck Eminem," like I'm gonna go down as the Eminem killer and blah blah blah. And then at the end he's crying, bro, because Drink Champs. Anybody that don't know, they'll ask you like Pac or Biggie, and you don't want to answer the question. Mm-hmm. You got to take a shot. And Benzino maybe should have chilled a little bit and answered a couple more questions because he might have got a little faded by the end. And bro is like not the best look, just crying, ranting after starting with "fuck Eminem, I'm the Eminem killer." By the end of it, he's like, "Everybody just asked me about Eminem. I'm tired of talking about it." I was like, bro,
I gotta watch this now.
Bad, bro. It is so funny, actually. It was wild. That's but yeah,
crazy. I'm literally as soon as we finish this, I'm tapping in with that because that sounds. I hate to say it, but it sounds hilarious.
It is so entertaining, and now my whole TikTok feed is just Benzino, Eminem shit, and
oh yeah, I got you.
Yeah, it happens. But appreciate you doing this, bro. Appreciate you doing this. Appreciate everybody listening in.
I'm glad to be here, bro. I had hella fun. I'm looking forward to closing out the season with this too, bro. So appreciate you having me.
Hell yeah, man. I'm glad to be back at it. We aiming for like 1 to 2 a week. Scheduling's always tough, but we're going to figure it out. And yeah, that's the plan, about 1, 2 a week. So appreciate everybody tuning in, whether YouTube, or on the audio side, all listening platforms. This is up on as well. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date moving forward. And likes are always appreciated too, y'all. So thanks again. And you'll hear from us again next couple of days.
Yes, sir.